Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Blissful Literati. Summer is here, and with summer, our thirst for cool shakes and ice cream too has returned. Think about the plump, ripe mangoes hanging from the trees, or what about swinging lazily in the cool shade of a tree on a summer evening? Not just these, but trees serve us in many other ways. But to know about them all, we have to go through this poem Trees by Shirley Bauer. But before we read this poem, let's talk a little bit about the themes so as to have some idea of what this poem is all about. As for themes, this poem highlight the many ways trees serve the living world. It also tells us the many gifts that we receive from trees. But most importantly, it talks about the value of nature and how she benefits us. Let us now have a pictographic representation of the poem, The Trees. This particular image was clicked on one summer evening, and just imagine as the sun is setting the long shadows that it casts on the ground and the great ethereal beauty that this landscape presents before us. This is the gift of trees, this quiet, this solitude. This is the bliss, this is the moment that calms our mind and relaxes us. One of the many gifts that trees bestow upon us. Let us now read the poem first. Trees are for birds, trees are for children, trees are to make houses in, trees are to swing swings on, trees are for the wind to blow through, trees are to hide behind in hide and seek, trees are to have tea parties under, trees are for kites to get caught in. Trees are to make cool shade in summer, trees are to make no shade in winter. Trees are for apples to grow on and pears. Trees are to chop down and call timber. Trees make mother say, "What a lovely picture to paint." Trees make fathers say, "What a lot of leaves to rake this fall." Now, before we move on to the analysis of the poem, its word meanings and the figures of speech and everything, let us stop right here for a moment. The poem, as we read this, we can understand it is a very simple poem, basically a list of the things that trees provide us. Now, why should we read? Why should we waste our time going through a list? We know this, right? We know what we get from trees, but still, this poem has been included in the syllabus and there must be some reason. You see, humanity has a tendency of taking things around them for granted. We are the humans, the ones with so many inventions and discoveries to our credit. Even God created the rest of this world to be of service to us, as God puts it in the book of Genesis. Let humankind have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and over the cattle and over all the wild animals of the earth and over every creeping things that creep upon the earth. So we take everything for granted because everything has been created to serve us, and we also take trees and plants for granted. We use them in whichever way we want. But trees and plants, God made not to dominate over, but to receive our sustenance from them. There is a basic difference in the use of these two terms. Dominate over, dominion, to have dominion over, and to receive sustenance. One, dominion, we can do whatever we want with them because we are the rulers, we are the dominators. But on the other hand, they who provide sustenance to us, they are the God or gods. Trees and plants, they are the representative God on this earth because they provide us sustenance, they provide us nourishment, they provide us life. This poem tells us how trees benefit us, how we are dependent on trees and plants in every phase of our lives, and thus carries the message of not to take trees and plants for granted. Let us now go to the summary of this poem. It is a very simple poem, and as you can see, there is nothing much going on here, only a list. The poet talks about the several purposes that trees fulfill. They are for birds to build nests or for children to build tree houses. Sometimes people hang swings from the branches of a tree or may even have a garden picnic or tea party under a tree. A tree provides shade to the weary traveler in summer. They make good hiding spots or sometimes catch a loose kite for a child. They provide us with fruits and even wood. Trees inspire mothers to paint beautiful pictures while fathers grow weary to think about the leaves they will shed in autumn. So that's all for the summary of this poem, and now let's move on to the tone. The poet discusses the various ways for which we are indebted to the trees in an innocent and gentle, humorous way. She looks at the trees from the perspective of a child, and the entire poem is basically a list that she provides, and we can observe easily in nature. Moving on to the elements at play here in this poem. Obviously, we have the trees, and then the poet also evokes the mental images of blowing wind, tree houses, swings, tea parties, kites, fruits, and wood and fallen leaves. So, with all these elements at play, let us now move on to the first verse, first stanza. Let us analyze in great detail. Trees are for birds, trees are for children, trees are to make houses in, trees are to swing swings on. You see, this poem, just like the rebel, provides a list. While the rebel provided a list of behavior, this poem provides a list of things we get from the trees. So they're vastly different, yet similar in their presentation. And indeed, it doesn't take much time to realize what are the things that we get from trees. Just close your eyes and think of all the things that you have around you, from the clothes that you're wearing to the furniture which is there in your house, even the building material of your building, railway tracks, food items on your plate or fruit for a snack, or even right now, the cosmetic products, the beauty products, the shampoo, oil that you use. Just go through the ingredients. Natural extracts, they say. And where is this natural extract coming from? These natural extracts are extracted from the trees only, trees and plants. So we don't need much to realize how influential is the presence of trees and plants in our life. So let's see what are the items that the poet is presenting before us. Trees provide shelter to birds as they build their nests on trees. Trees, they not only provide shelter to birds, but also several animals, insects, provide food, nourishment. Creepers, even they perch on trees. They make their home on trees, in trees. And strong trees, they even protect the nests in time of storms. Not just nests, but also the animals who take shelter because they have nowhere else to go. So trees, they are their homes. Children play around trees. It may be hide and seek, lock and key. They may be just fooling around each other, maybe going running around a tree to catch a glimpse of a elusive squirrel who is again playing hide and seek with the boys. And sometimes, with some guidance, they can make even tree houses a personal space for children. And these tree houses, let me tell you, I don't know how much it is right now in Indian weather because summer here is really hot. But in Western countries, tree houses play a major role in the children's life. It's an integral part. The references to tree houses can come in so many movies, stories. If I remember correctly, even Phineas and Ferb they had a tree house. Perhaps I don't remember exactly, but maybe. What I remember is Home Alone, the movie, the great humorous movie Home Alone. In that movie, this boy he had a tree house, and from where he managed all his mischiefs. And even when the goons came to attack their house, this boy single-handedly from the tree house punished them. So tree houses they are an integral part of society, culture, and why the basic reason is they provide a personal space, a home away from home. You can make yourself comfortable there. You can invite your friends in there. It is your own personal space. So that is why children they love tree houses, and they can even set up a swing to spend lazy afternoons. Now let us first take a look at the word notes. Tree houses, a structure such as a playhouse built among the branches of a tree. Swing, basically the expression swing swings. Now the first swing is used as a noun. Swing, when used as a noun, means something that swings freely from or on a support. For example, a seat suspended by a rope or chains for swinging to and fro on for pleasure. Swings, on the other hand, when used as a verb, it means to sway or move in a rhythmic to and fro motion. Now let's have a look at some tree houses. After all, we said so many things. We wrote kind of a ode on tree houses. So let's have a look at tree houses. So just imagine this capsular alien spaceship kind of a tree house. Just imagine how wonderful it will be, how wonderful it will feel to just own this place, to call it your own, right? Or maybe you would love to live in one if the house is like this, a complete house with a balcony, chimney, everything is there, complete. Who wouldn't? Away from everything, totally at your peace, and whenever you invite your friends over, whenever you invite your friends over, it is like maybe a bat cave, perhaps, a refurbished, renewed, remodeled bat cave, perhaps, away from everything, not easily accessible. It is a treasure trove, basically speaking. Finally, treehouse with a swing. Let's have a look at this particular treehouse and just imagine the swing. Just imagine it. This person is swinging at the end of the world, actually. Located in Baos, Ecuador, at La Casa del Rebol, which means treehouse, not brother of La Casa del Papel. This incredible swing greets hikers at an elevation of 2,660 meters. It invites anyone daring enough to ride it. It also includes a view of Tungurahua volcano. Just imagine. This is a real, absolutely real treehouse. There is no doubt about it. And just imagine, would you would you uh, would you take this challenge to swing if provided with the opportunity? Would you like to have a mountain dew at the same time in your hand? Because everybody is frightened. डर सबको लगता है पर डर के आगे जीत है. So do you want that, or आज कुछ तूफानी करते हैं? So you just take some sip of your cold drink and go on the swing. Think about it. Let's and while you think about it, let's go to the second part of this analysis. Trees are for the wind to blow through. Trees are to hide behind in hide and seek. Trees are to have tea parties under. Trees are for kites to get caught in. So the poet reminds us of the sound of wind passing through the trees. I lived a large part of my life in the plains, but due to my job profile right now, I have to live in the mountains. And the one thing that struck me when I first came here, this hilly area, is the sound of the wind as it passed blew through the trees. I remember mistaking it for raining. The sound of rain is such a loud sound, or maybe waves even. It is wonderful. After living a long time in the pollution and the noise in the cities, this sound of nature, the sound of birds chirping, insects tweeting, the sound of wind through the trees, they're a bliss to the ears. It is amazing, to say the least. Trees also serve as hiding places for little children as they play hide and seek. And if you are a Bollywood buff or Hollywood perhaps, you know that they also block bullets in movies when the villain party is chasing the hero, or maybe trees even serve as Gada to Bhim when he's having this wonderful fight with Bakasur, simply because he has no Gada with himself. So he just uproots a tree and uses it to fight. Wonderful. They are really handy to, you know, to be weaponized. Openly at tea parties, a whole lot of fun with a tree to provide shade from the sun and some cool air. And here I am reminded of Jane Austen novels, or maybe even some writers they're writing novels even now. Or maybe imagine Harry Potter, the insidious tree over there. So these trees they provide a place to sit in, to spend some time in the cool shade, along with family, friends, or maybe even alone. A self time, some me time. So that is really wonderful. And finally, remember the times when a kite is flying away with a kid chasing behind it? Were you that kid chasing behind a kite, a loose kite? Trees are of great help in such times, as with their widespread branches, they help catch the kite for the child. You see, the kites they get stuck on the top of the tree, but we can think, right, that trees they does that willfully. They try to help the child. They try to catch the kite so that the child may come up and get it. But yeah, the kite is on the top of the tree and bringing it down, however, is another issue, right? Perhaps another poem on that, maybe. Moving on to the last part of this section, we have word notes. Blow through. Blow through means to leave or make off. In this poem, it refers to the way wind passes through the leaves of trees. And then there is hide and seek. Who doesn't know about this? Basically, a children's game where, as per the rules, one child gives the others a chance to hide and then goes out to find them. Now, let us have a look at this image of trees. And as you can all understand easily, just by looking at the trees, the winds which are passing through it, the branches, bent in one direction. Just imagine standing beneath these trees and listening to the sweet music of the wind blowing through it in this beautiful landscape. It is heavenly. And if you are, finding it hard to describe the sound of the wind which is making as it passes through the trees, the branches, you're tired of having rustling, rustle, murmur. Let's have this word trivia to enrich your vocabulary on wind sounds. First of all, obviously, the easy one, murmur. A low, indistinct, but often continuous sound like the murmur of waves or wind. Incidentally, these words not just are related to trees, but we can even use it to indicate the kind of speech we are making, the voice, the tone, the pitch. Murmur will be like whispering. Susurration, a whispering sound. Murmur, another word, a synonym. Rustle, again, a very well known word, a common word, to act or move with energy or speed, like the trees rustling in the wind. One uncommon word, citourism, the sound of wind in the trees and rustling of leaves. And this one is strictly restricted to trees and wind only. And finally, we have dendrophile, someone who loves trees, perhaps the poet herself. Now let's move on to the next part of this poem, the third verse stanza. Trees are to make cool shade in summer, trees are to make no shade in winter. Trees are for apples to grow on and pears, trees are to chop down and call timber. It is quite a common scene to see some tired traveler or hawker taking rest under the cool shade of a tree in summer. You see, trees, they provide shade not only to travelers or hawkers, but even children when they play around after sweating themselves up in their game sports. They can simply collapse under a tree in its shade. They're playing cricket or football, and when the game is over, they just come back and sit under a tree, just talk or just spend some time in silence, quietude. Their nature's bliss to provide some respite from the scorching summer heat. On the other hand, in the winter, the trees shade their leaves and thus let the gentle beams of sun warm us and protect from the wintry chills. The poet here makes a sudden departure from the normal notion. You see, this is a common fact that trees will shed the leaves in winter, obviously, unless they're evergreen trees. But the poet makes it appear as if it is the trees, they plan it, they willfully shed their leaves so that the sunlight is not blocked. You see, in the summertime, we don't need the sun so much because it is really hot. We need the shade, cool shade. But in winter, we're already feeling cold. We need the heat to keep us warm, to enjoy. So the trees, they know it, and therefore they shed their leaves so that we can bask in the wintry heat of the sun. Trees provide us with nutrition, fruits, and vegetables. And just think about it. Just take a look at your plate. The food that you're eating, the rice, the dal, okay, the vegetables, green vegetables, the chili, whatever you're having, except the non-veg dishes, whatever you're having, all are coming from trees and plants, right? So they help us survive. They make life possible for us by providing us nutrition and sustenance. On the other hand, even in death, trees serve us. Trees die to give us wood with which we make our shelter. People chop trees down and sell the timber to earn their livelihood. Next, we have the word notes. Trees are to make no shade in winter. You see, trees provide cool shadow in the summer to beat the heat. However, in the winter, there is no need for shade. Rather, we seek out the heat out in the open. The trees shed their leaves so that not a single sunbeam is blocked and we can all bathe in the soothing warmth. And again, you can see, you can understand. It is a natural phenomenon, but the poet makes it appear as if it is the trees planning. They shed their leaves. It is an active role from their end to help us to have some winter warmth. Timber, wood suitable for building or carpentry. Now, trees, they are true selfless helpers. They provide with nutrition when alive, and with their life, they provide livelihood. People chop down trees and sell the timber. By capitalizing the word timber, the poet is perhaps imitating the loud call of the woodcutters when a big tree is felled. So, woodcutters, when they are cutting down big trees, they go to the forest in groups and all play their own part by in hacking down a tree. Now, when a big tree falls, they shout to each other to make way for it, so that when it comes down, it doesn't come crashing down on a woodcutter. And that is why perhaps they make this shout, this loud call, as a call of warning, and the poet is perhaps trying to imitate that call. Now let's come to the final stanza. Trees make mother say, what a lovely picture to paint. trees make fathers say, "What a lot of leaves to rake this fall." And remember in the theme we talked about a child's perspective? Well, the child's voice can easily be recognized in this closing stanza where the poet refers to the grown ups as mothers and fathers. Now, mothers and fathers, these grown ups, they react differently to the trees. How differently? Let us see. Trees can make landscape really come to life. Just imagine a barren space and one lush green verdant space. Obviously, the second one will look better. Just imagine a snow-capped range of mountains, and just before them, there are trees standing through which the sunlight is streaming in, creating a web-like, cob-like situation. Just imagine it. It is wonderful. It is poetry itself. It inspires people to write songs, lyrics, poems. They bring the landscape really come to life, whether it is a green tree or it may be a tree without any leaves. Just Google it. You will find so many images with trees covered with a full canopy of leaves and trees without a single leaf. But in either case, they bring something in the landscape which makes these images, these pictures really beautiful. Yet there are others who are far more practical, like the fathers, and in the trees present in the courtyard, they see all the fallen leaves that they have to rake in autumn. Fall actually means the autumn season, the advent of winter. And when autumn arrives, the leaves they take on several shocking hues like red, orange, yellow, brown, purple. But at the same time, they fall from the trees and make the ground messy. So the practical minded people, they always imagine the work that they have to do in the autumn time, all the raking, all the effort that they must make to clear the ground. So it is a daunting task for them. And even in summer or in spring, they cannot forget about that. Now let us come to the word notes of this section. Rake is an implement or machine equipped with projecting prongs to gather material like leaves of a loosening or smoothing the surface of the ground. Fall, on the other hand, refers to the autumn season. Finally, we come to the contemplation on the poem. You see, there is a poem for all, and this poem is for all the dendrophiles out there. Dendrophiles, those people who love trees. The poem outlines how trees wrap us in our everyday life, from shade in summer to warmth in winter, from fruits for a lazy spring afternoon spent in a hammock hanging from a tree to timber for the livelihood of those who depends on it. Trees have something to offer everyone. Just imagine Newton too perhaps was enjoying this lazy afternoon under an apple tree, and suddenly an apple fell from the tree and the wind susurrated the mystery of gravity in his ears. I know, I know. It is too much to imagine, but anyway, I hope you remember the meaning of susurration. Otherwise, you can simply go back and check out the word notes on wind sound. They also inspire the artist in us. And finally, they also remind us the hard work after the fun when we have to rake the leaves which fall in autumn. After all play and no work makes Jack still a dull boy. So whether you're working or playing, there must be a balance in it. And nature teaches us this valuable lesson with the trees which you know which pleases us, which sustains us throughout its life, still provides us a time when we have to work hard for their presence in our life. We have to rake the leaves, we have to work to maintain them. If there is a bug, we have to remove it. So we need to work hard, right? So trees, they provide us this balance. They're the perfect examples of this balance that we must create in our life. Then we come to the forms and figures in this poem. First of all, there is anaphora. When a word or phrase is repeated at the beginning of a line in a poem, of each line in a poem, it is called anaphora. Just as trees are two is repeated at the beginning of each line. Then we have alliteration, when same consonant sounds are repeated in close succession, as in swing swings, make mothers, trees are two, kites to get caught, etc. There is a loose alliteration of her sound even in hide behind in hide and seek. Next we have tautology. It is the needless repetition of an idea, statement, or word. For example, the phrase cool shade is tautological, as shade by nature is cool. We don't have any warm shade, hot shade. No, not possible. So it is a tautological. And before we end this discussion, let's close it with sparing some thoughts on the title. The poem is entirely focused on trees. Each and every line repeats the idea what trees mean to us. Because of its singular focus and the connective thread throughout the poem, the title Trees is perfect. So here we come to an end of a discussion. Hope you enjoyed the poem. I know that you are already aware of the various ways trees help us in our everyday life, but it never harms to, to revise things a bit, to remember things a bit, and most importantly, to remember the fun that you can have in this summer when you're back at home. Lockdown, no school, you're back at home. So go out your courtyard, your backyard, have some fun, right? Spend some time in nature, not only on PUBG or, okay, you're now banning China, so not much time on any other games like that. And in the meantime, when you have finished this poem, reading the poem, going through this explanation, if you still face any difficulty, do revert it back to us. And we here at Blissful Literary will try our best to help you. Till then, bye bye.